First question that everyone has on their minds that we must have an answer to is,
So it's a balance that we're going to strike. I'm super excited about it. I did not stop serving this country when I took my uniform off. Can't quite talk about it yet, but there's things we want to do in that nature.
I am jumping out of my seat. I'm trying to first off not interrupt you because I wanted to scream a couple of times. Hi there, welcome back to another episode of I Am Not Naming This Podcast. I hope that you are feeling fantastic and ready to tune in because I have a special episode for you. Let's dive in, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor and privilege to be here with the very first mayor of Mableton, Mayor Michael Owens. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, I am so excited to be here. It's amazing to get an opportunity to talk about our city and things that are going on and just get to hang out with you a little bit.
Thank you. I am so excited to dive in. And the first question that everyone has on their minds that we must have an answer to is, how does it feel to be the very first mayor of the city of Mableton?
I can't really explain it because it's something that every single day is brand new. You can imagine, I ran for office to be the mayor and I won, thank goodness, thanks to all the voters out there who voted for me. But the next day I woke up the mayor of a city of 80,000 people, of a brand new city, right? That was conceptually, we're here, we have all these people that live here, but, there was no staff, there's no documentation, there's no buildings, so every single day has been a journey. So all I had to do is look to the mentors and friends that I have out there and my background experience, and it just guided me along the way, because every single day has been something brand new. And that's probably been the most exciting thing about it.
Oh, I love that. You are on the ground floor, literally, building the infrastructure and setting the foundation for this city's future. And that is incredible. And you mentioned that you have a network of people who you have called upon and can rely on. So what was it like building that network?
Well, the good part about it was already built, right? I have, through the time that I've been involved in government and politics in Georgia and nationwide, has really given me an opportunity to be able to lean on people in this time. And, it wasn't like I was calling, asking for a lot of favors either. People were actually reaching out to me and going, Mayor. First of all, how's it sound to be mayor? I was like, it's awesome. But they're like, what can I do? How can I help? How can I help you on this journey? This is kind of what I've learned, what I've gone through. But, ironically, a lot of those people out there said, I understand, but I've never been a first-time mayor, like as far as a new city. I mean, all mayors have been new at one point in time, but there's not many mayors out there that's been mayors of a brand new city. So there's only a handful of us out there. I talked to some of my colleagues in other parts of the country, and they're going, are they still doing that? They're still creating new cities? So that really makes a really small group of people that's really kind of gone through what we've gone through here. In the Metro Atlanta area, I think we are quite unique in that over the last 25 years or so, there have been several new cities that's been created. This is kind of unique though here in Mableton because we're in Cobb County. And Cobb hasn't had a new city since the 1800s. So that aspect is new. But there are some mayors across, the metro area, new cities that were created in 2017 and further back that, I have a guide to look at, some things that we should do and also some things that we shouldn't do.
I love that. That is perfect. And, we really value your insight, especially because we have such a unique opportunity. And like you said, there are so many people who didn't have that opportunity. So they can tell you what it's like to be mayor, but to be the first mayor, not so much. So that's really exciting for you to be able to have that opportunity. One thing that I also have been geeking out on in general is real estate. So of course I have some real estate questions for you. And as we drive through Mableton, if you're familiar with the area, there are new developments. Real estate is thriving, and becoming a city, I imagine that it would start to thrive even more. Perhaps new businesses. I mean,
yes,
the sky's the limit. we're actually in one of the newer businesses here in Mableton right now. So what do you see on the landscape as far as residents considering Mableton if they haven't already?
Yeah, well, hopefully they have, but if they haven't, Mableton is, a lot of people describe it as a diamond in the rough. It's this hidden gem that's right here outside of the city of Atlanta. And it's true. From my house, I live less than 10 miles from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So when you look at the metro area, I may be a little biased here.
Same.
Just a little. but there's not a better vibe for your money, for your access into the city of Atlanta, and for all the amenities and things that we have out here. And you're exactly right. When we became a city, before we even started operating the city, once it was passed, almost immediately you started seeing the uptick in things going on, and a much faster rate than it even was before. I tell a lot of people we were in Forbes magazine not too long ago, and the Forbes magazine was talking about all of Metro Atlanta, great places to live, and what was going on with the market economy as it relates to real estate. And the city of Mableton had the single largest home value increase or sales rate in the state of Georgia. In the state of Georgia, that's what became a city. Now I equate that to two things. Number one is that people are like, oh, Mableton's a city and it's right here. It's actually close in. And then the second thing was there's some stability that comes when you have local government. One of the first things that we've been able to do is start to work with our planning commission and building a planning commission, a downtown development authority. I went to work very early to create a Mableton Development Authority. And that would kind of help shape the direction on things that were going and things that are going to be happening in the city. And so you saw a huge uptick, right, in the cost. Now, I don't want to scare everybody away when it comes to the price because here's the real kicker in this. Our home values are going up 20%. We were still, to this day, one of the most affordable areas in the state, in the Metro Atlanta area. And again, we border the city of Atlanta. I think the only city in that report that was just a couple of $1,000s cheaper as for Kennesaw. And if you know the landscape, you know that the city of Mableton is much closer, in the center of the metro area.
Yep.
And so that for us was huge. But it also spoke about the fact of why we wanted to be a new city. It's because we were being left behind. We didn't have the ability to chart our own path, to say the things that we wanted to build for the city, and to really go out and attract and talk to developers and talk about the needs that we would have here. And there's a lot of diversity. When you talk about real estate, you will hear a lot of discussions about workforce housing and affordable housing. And that is one of the top things on my agenda, is to make sure that we bring more affordable housing in. But we also have to talk about other spectrums of the housing market as well. Those that are in their middle income, and even those that, we got $1 million houses here.
Oh, absolutely.
Quite a few.
And we like luxury.
And I don't dare say we need more $1 million houses here.
Yes.
So we've got to strike a balance. And what I've been wanting to do and working through with early on in my administration, if you will, is to strike that balance between affordable housing, workforce housing, that missing middle inclusion, but also look higher too to make sure that we truly have a balanced housing stock, so Mableton truly can be a place for everybody.
That's incredible, and it's music to my ears. I thank you for everything you just said, because that is really important. It's important to have something for everyone, right? Because when we are thinking about a place to live, that's what we consider. We consider a plethora of options.
Yes.
And right now on the market currently, we have ranges of homes from $195,000 to $2,097,000 on the market right now.
Yes.
So if you're looking to move to Mableton, perfect time. There are your options. So we do, span a very wide area of just depending on whatever anyone is looking for. So it's amazing to me that we are able to have such a combination of affordability and luxury.
Yeah.
That is really important.
And I think along with that comes amenities, and fantastic restaurants like we're in right now, Access Restaurant. But you also have the Maple House Amphitheater that's right down up the street that a lot of people come to from all over the metro area. People come to the amphitheater for the great concerts. We have the Silver Common Trail here, which, outdoor enthusiasts and bicyclists and joggers are always on. And of course, right down the street is Six Flags. So we have a major destination place that is right here in the city. So when you start to combine those things with the fact that, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and State Farm Arena is right down the street. We have the Atlanta Braves, that play in Truist Stadium, which is 5 miles, outside of Mableton. So when you add all of those things up, again, there's not a better place to live in Metro Atlanta, hands down, than the city of Mableton.
I agree. It's amazing. And you mentioned the Mabel House. I've been there a few times, and I went to see Clay Aiken and
Okay.
Sutter over there.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's amazing because you can sit on the lawn, or you can, sit at a table
Indeed.
and bring your own food and drinks and everything. It is a beautiful place. There's free parking, and it's right down the street. It's right in the middle of everything. It's incredible. Silver Comet, I frequent that too because it's a trail that's covered. There are a lot of trees surrounding
Yes,
that area.
for
So
sure.
even when it is sunny, it's perfect.
Still get a great ride, or a walk, or a jog, or whatever you want to do out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this because we're talking about how much we love Mableton. So when I first decided to move here, I looked at a map of Atlanta. And this is actually before I was even in real estate. So I was charting my own path even then. So no wonder I ended up here. But I looked at a map of Atlanta and I started looking at the surrounding areas to figure out where do I want to live that's close enough so that I have the amenities and everything that I want, but I can still come home to the suburbs, the quiet, relaxation, all of that. I just wanted it all. So I looked and I was like, oh, Mableton. I've never been there before.
Wow.
And so I said, okay, this is where I want to look. So the first time I came to Mableton was when I was looking for houses and when I found my house. And I fell in love with the place. And then shortly after that, this was back when they hadn't even paved, certain areas of I-20.
Mhm.
And shortly after that, the roads were paved. It was like it was just meant for me to be here. But things started to change. New businesses
Yes.
popped up. New developments showed up. It was incredible. This city is really fascinating.
It really is. I've been here, my family's here since 1998. And I'm a Georgia Tech grad, so I was going up and down the 278 here. And I've seen, the miraculous changes that's happened. And yes, without a doubt, in the last couple of years, it has picked up immensely. And it's going to continue to. Now, we're going to strike a balance, right, between that new growth and making sure that Mableton's still a comfortable place for people to live. And as a city of 80,000 people, we're the largest city in Cobb County, first of all. And I think the 12th largest city in the state of Georgia.
That's huge.
So, while Mableton's this nice, cozy place, we're also a major city in the state. So you're going to see a bit of a balance that kind of happens between us forging forward, and looking at things like recruiting businesses and, our own innovation tech hub that we want to build here, and how we can build a smarter, more innovative city that's, really reaching out to our constituents and making sure everyone's on the same page. But also make sure that we still have parks and local programming and, restaurants where when you walk in, people know who you are. And, so it's a balance that we're going to strike. I'm super excited about it. I just know that every single day in the last week and a half, I've gone to 3 ribbon cuttings here in the city. So
Wow.
things are really on the rise, and, I'm already looking forward to the next one.
You lived in Mableton. Well, you grew up here, and you lived here ever since it was 98, right? 98?
Yes. Well, I did not grow up here. I grew up in North Carolina, but my dad's family is from here.
Nice.
So I have family throughout Metro Atlanta. But yeah, I spent a lot of summers, even when I was in school, in grade school, I spent a lot of my summers here. So so this area wasn't new to me per se, but when my parents moved here in '98, kind of following some other family members that were here, I just fell in line, and really loved the area. I got to just meet a tremendous amount of people that are doing good stuff. And, as we said before, maybe it was a little different back then, but still the vibe between, Atlanta proper and what was happening here, there was still a strong connection as to what was going on. The community, the culture, entertainment, all that was alive, and it's still alive today.
I love it. And so is it fair to say that that's what has kept you in Mableton?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. What's kept me in Mableton is community. I mean, I've spent a lot of time working in Atlanta and Midtown and Buckhead. I've worked in Alpharetta a lot, but staying in Mableton and being in Cobb County is something I haven't been able to find anywhere else. That mix of great community, adjacency, and being able to kind of get everywhere. We're right here off 20 and right off 285, so anywhere we need to get to, we can. And a lot of people, 400 is no joke. Neither is 285. And so when you live in a community where you can get to all these places without having to get on those, now it's great to hop on 285 or 20 where you need to go, but if they're jammed up, we can always hit service streets and get to wherever we need to. You know this. We
Yes.
Whenever we need to in the area, and that has made it good. And I think also my involvement in the community is what's kept me here. And whether it's politically, whether it's socially, through our fantastic nonprofits, it's the people. It's like a lot of communities, people getting together about trying to bring a greater good to what's going on. And so I've just always felt that sense of community here that's been different than anywhere else in the metro area.
Oh, that's wonderful. I do feel that sense of community, even when I'm going to the grocery store. People know me there at this point. And it's great. I love that because I walk in, I feel like I see friends everywhere I go. And to your point, you mentioned that this is actually a very large city, but somehow it still has that hometown feeling to it. It's a community. It's something that people get to treasure. Like,
Sure.
we come home to Mableton, but we really do come home to Mableton.
Yeah, no, we really do it. One of those challenges, I think that will continue to be a really great thing about our city, but I also want people to live in Mableton, not just because it's convenient to somewhere else. I want to live here because they truly enjoy living here. And so we talked about the amenities before, but we've got to have them. There's more things that we have to bring, more restaurants, more places where people can go out. Believe it or not, there are people with a healthy amount of discretionary income here. And, I want to make sure they're spending those dollars here. I also have something called Small Business Saturday. Now, that's not new. Many places have Small Business Saturday, but in the city of Mableton, every Saturday is Small Business Saturday. So, I try to go out and make sure that, as we're going to maybe big box stores, that we also pop into, a small mom and pop. We go into a small restaurant. We go into a local shop to buy something because I want to make sure that we continue to support our small businesses here. And so that's really important to me. But, we've really got to focus on people living in Mableton, but also shopping, celebrating in Mableton as well, worshiping in Mableton. All those kind of play a part. So, my advent on Small Business Saturday is really to get people top of mind, to come and explore our local places. There are a lot of fantastic small businesses that are here that, people don't always know about. So by trying to talk about Small Business Saturday, if I pop up, in a local shop somewhere and I'm giving a quick shout out on Instagram, that means a lot to people, and I've even had small businesses reach out and go, hey, Mr. Mayor, how can I be one of those small businesses that get profiled? And so we're working on it. Send me an email. We'll get you in the queue because we truly want to make sure that all of our businesses here get an opportunity to just show how fantastic they are and how much they want to cater to the residents and people that live here.
Oh, with that, I would love to invite everyone who is tuning in to participate with us.
That's right. That's right.
So what we can do is, whether it's in the comments of this podcast, whether it's on Mr. Mayor's Instagram, my Instagram, all three, let's shout out some of these businesses. Let's go participate together, make it a Saturday thing. If it's not every Saturday, that's fine. Even if it's one Saturday a month,
Sure.
we can hang out in Mableton. Like, come on in, the water's fine. We can see what Mableton really has to offer, because as much as I appreciate us talking about it, this is only the first step.
Sure.
So
Yes.
next up is for us to be out there in the community together.
That's right. I think there's a lot of places to explore that people, we talked about the Silver Comet Trail. There's a new restaurant, a new Italian restaurant that's opening up right beside the trail off of Floyd Road. There are fantastic Jamaican restaurants in the city. There's African restaurants. There's some really great barbecue at a place or two. And so, I just implore people, go out, explore the city. If you're looking for a house, there's tons of new housing options to look at. We have the existing resale market, but we also have new apartment complexes that are being built. There's new townhomes that are coming. There's new single family homes as well that's on the market. So I think just popping out there, I keep my eye on the market every day almost. I'm looking to see what's new going on out there. And, there's also the fact that Mableton is a large city. And when you have large cities, you're going to have diverse areas. So, all parts of Mableton don't look the same either. There's some places that over in East Mableton where, there are more townhouses, there are more fluent areas. There's going to be areas that are closer to the Silver Mountain Trail where people just want to hop on and do their exercising. There's a downtown, a vibrant downtown that we are going to continue to build. And you will see more of that. You'll hear more about that in the future. But there will be other areas like Providence, where lots of people like to live as a gated community. They want to feel like they come in and they can just relax, probably from a hectic day in Midtown, and they want to feel like they want to get away. There's townhouses again where people who don't want a lot of maintenance, but they still want somewhere really nice to live. So there is a plethora of opportunities in different parts of the city. If people off East-West Connector, people want to be in the middle of that commercial zone, and there's other areas where people can just have a little more quietness. So I think we have a lot to offer. We have a lot of diversity here within one city. And so I just, I suggest everyone take a trip, come through. If you're looking for a place to move to in Metro Atlanta, again, there's not a single better place. If you want that mix between being close to downtown, close to Midtown Atlanta, but you also want a refuge of some sort, a place where you can kind of hang out and people do know your names when you go into restaurants. We have a fantastic amphitheater where there's some great concerts that go on too, and it's still kind of laid back. And it's easy on the pockets too. So, Mableton is going to continue to be a fantastic place to live, to grow. We have several different options when it comes to schools. There are our traditional public schools. There's also some great private schools in the area. There's a charter school or two that's in the mix too. So even for those with school-age children, we have some options for people that want to be here in this community.
That's amazing. And speaking of the schools, do you foresee any initiatives on the horizon to improve the schools, the infrastructure, and really to help people who are thinking about relocating their families here?
Sure. Yeah, that is an area where we still are improving and have to improve a lot more. I have a ninth grader and I have a seventh grader, so I can tell you firsthand, I know these schools inside and out, and what I can tell you is that the teachers, the administrators are incredibly passionate about the students and about the work they're doing. And there's also been a lot of investment. There's been a huge amount of investment in Pearlbrook High School. There's a brand new gymnasium just got built at South Cobb High School. The school where my daughter goes to, shout out to Betty Gray Middle School. They are one of the newest schools in the county, and it's a traditional middle school. They have a brand new wing that was built at that school. They just got STEM certified, so families out there look for a great STEM school. That's a public school. They literally just got STEM certified, I want to say just a couple of months ago. And so there's a lot of great opportunities. A lot of people coming for the magnet program, magnet program, shall I say with an S, because Betty, Pebblebrook has I want to say world-renowned performing arts program there that people go to. South Cobb High School has a medical biosciences program that is there that do great work that, I meet these kids as they're graduating, and they're all going off to top-tier colleges around the country. So there's a lot of really good things going on, but there's also, as I said before, there's still work to do, no doubt. So much so that I actually started an organization. It's called the Mayor's Educational Impact Program and Fund. And with that, we are raising money. That's right, we're raising funds because we know that, to really change things we're going to have to raise funds, but we're also, part of us, providing opportunities for kids. We want to make sure kids are going on more field trips and have more educational opportunities that normally would not get. We also want to be able to talk about the great things that are going on. I mentioned just a few of the things. There's a brand new elementary school that just got built a couple of years ago that's right here in the city. But we have to get to a point where we can amplify those great things. So as people across the metro area are looking for new places to go, they understand that there is good things happening in our schools and there's more things on the horizon. So, the Mayor's Educational Impact Fund is just a way for us to go about raising funds and being able to put them in certain areas. So I literally have school administrators, let me rephrase that. I have PTA programs around different schools that we are going to be supporting. So we're going to directly be supporting these schools by beautification efforts, but also taking the schools, kids on field trips, and ensuring that we have valedictorians that are going off to Yale and Harvard and Brown and Princeton, but also Georgia Tech, North Carolina A&T State University, FAMU. We've got to talk about that so parents know that sending their kids to school here, they are educational outlooks and opportunities for them. And as I said before, there are private institutions that we have here in the city as well. So if they're looking for private education, those don't always show up when, on the real estate sites when they're looking at what the options are. But I was just talking to a private school last week, and they said clearly we're open for business, and we're looking for more students to come in, and so there are other growing options that we have here too to make sure that we have really well-rounded students that are ready to go out and take on the challenges of the world and compete in a global marketplace. And that's what we're going to continue to build here in Mableton. Are we where we want to be yet? No, we're not. But it's that push to continue to move on and to grow in academic excellence, and that's what we're going to strive for.
I am jumping out of my seat. I'm trying to first off not interrupt you because I wanted to scream a couple of times. I'm like, this is so great. So I think it's amazing to pour into the youth. It is so essential because those are the same people who are going to determine our future. And then being able to help shape the minds of children is really amazing.
Absolutely.
That's something that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
So I appreciate all of your sentiments and all of the work that you're doing with your foundation. And I think that it's going to change something that is already very, very valuable.
Absolutely. I am a hands-on mayor when it comes to these type of things. I have a mayor's reading program, when the school is reading to the elementary school kids. I was at a middle school last week talking to the Beta Club, the Beta Club induction, and just made me think back from when I was a Beta Club, as a middle schooler. And, and I told the kids there, I was like, out of this group, there could be future doctors and lawyers and scientists, and maybe just a future Mableton mayor might be in the group, So I love getting out and doing that. I was at Floyd Middle School last week, and over 250 students there were either on the AB honor roll or on the A honor roll. So, a fantastic opportunity to go out there and literally shake hands with the kids and hand out some hugs, tell them how, proud I am of them, but also to let the parents know and let the community know that, as a new city, it's important that we start to prioritize our time for where our values really are. And so I want the parents in the city to understand just how important education is to me, how important education is to the city, and how, we're going to continue to find ways to pour into our schools and to our students, because I truly believe that it is an impact. And the reason it's called the Mayor's Educational Impact Fund and Program is because we do understand that our schools and our students have an impact on the city. And as a city, we have an impact on our schools and our students. So, whatever we can do, however I can spend more time pouring into our students and engaging with them, that's what I'm going to do.
It is greatly appreciated. And speaking of children, I want to ask what it was like for you when you were a child. You know how sometimes people say, oh, I have wanted to do XYZ ever since I was a kid. I would love to know at what point you decided that you wanted to be mayor.
No. I will tell you, I don't have one of those stories that, when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be a mayor. Although I do have childhood friends that, swear up and down that I've told them. Even my mother tells a story where I was going to be president of the United States one day. That I absolutely was, and I had my heart set on it. I had a lot of lofty dreams. I wanted to be a United States Marine, and I did achieve that goal actually when the Marine Corps got out of school.
Thank you for your service.
And you're welcome. So I served 8 years in the United States Marine Corps, following the footsteps of my dad. And my mantra then was the same as it is now. I was a bit of I read a lot. One way to say I was a bit of a nerd. But I also played sports. I was very active in basketball and track and tennis. So I had a very varied background growing up. I said, I grew up in North Carolina, but I spent a lot of my summers here in Atlanta and in Mableton, and I spent the other part of those summers in New York City and in South Bronx and in Manhattan. So my background was very diverse. I consumed everything that was in front of me. I literally read encyclopedias for fun. And I know how bad that sounds. How truly bad that sounds. I was not a comic book kid. I'm reading encyclopedias all the way through on the floor, flipping pages. It wasn't Marvel for me. I'm sorry. It was DC Comics.
I mean, I'm not laughing at you.
So just to give a little insight into my background, this thirst of knowledge, and when I talk about education, it's always been that thirst of knowledge. And then, I started talking about how to apply that, going in the Marine Corps, and then starting a career in information technology. And, I've been in IT and cybersecurity, and how that took me over into national security and with my work in the United States Marine Corps. And it's just something that's continued to be passions of mine, whether it's local government, national government, state government. I've always kind of been a person that have wanted to seek how to make it better. Now, I will tell you, my foray was not into elected politics. It was really around policy. And when I got out of the Marine Corps and, started working for international firms, again, it was in the IT and cybersecurity space, but that quickly merged over to national security. So my thing was always about policy. I wanted to be able to shape policy and better determine outcomes and ensuring that we're how our interactions with the U.S. is working with failed states and other countries. And my dissertation in my doctorate was it's a long, crazy title, so I'm not going to go into all that. But it was looking at the differences of different companies, how they interacted with the State Department in around foreign countries, multinational organizations, U.S.-based multinational organizations. So you could be talking about Microsoft or Caterpillar or FedEx and how they operate in different countries. So I was really about policy and how policy worked and the State Department. And, my goal and dream was to be an ambassador, and truly work on foreign policy and domestic policy as well. And the more, I spent time in Mableton understanding, seeing the needs and working with nonprofits and talking to state senators and state representatives about what those true needs were, it really kind of started moving itself over to elected politics. So I'm like, hey, if we've got to make a difference and someone has to kind of step up and lead, then why not me? And I tell people all the time, I did not stop serving this country when I took my uniform on. And so for me, in a lot of ways, the work that I do is still service this country. And whether that's, overseas, whether that's in Washington, D.C., or whether that's right here in Mableton, my goal is still public service, community service, and that's what I continue to do. So, yeah, from a kid at 6 years old, wanting to go out and help, to 10 years old, wanting to be the president, obviously, to today, stepping up to be the first mayor of the city, it has always truly been about service, about serving.
That's it's incredible. That is incredible. And I commend you on that because it's that servant's heart that we all need in our leadership. We need people like you who are going to be willing to put in the work and have the foresight and can actually take a vision and bring it to fruition. So now that you've been here in this seat for a little while now, what is your vision for the next few years in Mableton?
Yeah, so there's a few pillars, I would say. When I start talking about initiatives, that list starts to get really long, because there is so much to do. But as a new city, we do have to be real with ourselves that there's a limitation on what we do, because there are some capacities, right? There's some limits around that because of capacity and time. But there are some very key things, and I think housing is obviously a key thing that we have to look at, because people have to have somewhere to live, and we want to make sure that, as we said before, that we're looking at all of those, that the entire sphere or spectrum of what the housing market needs, and so to make sure there's a place for everybody here. So a lot of that need is on that affordable and workforce housing. I want to make sure for our teachers, for our EMS workers, for firemen, for police officers, that they can actually live in the city in which they work. So that is incredibly important to me. So I want to make sure that first and foremost, we're doing that. But I also want to make sure that, we are pushing forward from an eco-friendly perspective, sustainable aspect. I'm working on what I call EV 2035. And EV, obviously for electric vehicles, but the true meaning of EV 2035 is environmental vision. And it's about broadening the scope, more so just electric vehicles, over into solar, but also about, you know, when we became a city, we also inherited part of the Chattahoochee River. So part of that is how we are being good stewards of our rivers, of our streams. What are we doing on the front of alternative fuels and ensuring that we have a school right down the street. I'll give a shout out to SAE, the SAE school, a fantastic school right down on Mableton Parkway. Who are doing truly innovative things over there. The entire roof is covered with solar panels. I'm not sure if you knew.
Oh, absolutely.
And they generate almost 100% of their power from the sun. And so, as we start to build out, our city, I'm already looking at solar lighting and things that we can do on that nature. I committed a while back that our fleet of vehicles would be electric vehicles, and thus far, 100% of our vehicles in the city are electric vehicles. So, but not just for the city. I want to make sure we're putting more EV chargers throughout the city as a whole. So there's a lot of things I want to do from an environmental perspective. I think that's really important. I want to make sure Mableton stays as green as it is. And, even as we're putting in new housing, I still want to make sure we're still planting trees. I want to make sure that, we're taking care of our trails. I want to build more trails. I got a fantastic plan to build a trail throughout trail system, expand the trail system throughout the city. Can't quite talk about it yet, but there's things we want to do in that nature. I am one of a few what's called climate mayors in the state of Georgia, where I've joined an organization called Climate Mayors, and it's a network of mayors across the country that talk about climate friendly, environmentally friendly policies that we can put together. So I want to bring more of that to the table. We just passed a sanitation ordinance just a couple of weeks ago, but I really call it a sustainability and beautification ordinance, because the things we can really do with that is going to make our city more beautiful, it's going to make our city more environmentally friendly, and it's going to add a sustainable element to ensure that as the city grows, that we are keeping our mind's eye on being environmentally friendly. So those are two efforts. I want to make sure that we're from affordable housing standpoint, we're putting ourselves in a position through a land banks and land trust that we can, look out for those that are most economically challenged people, to ensure that there's still a way they can still afford to stay in the city of Mableton. Another big initiative that we're going to have is building out a center city. When I mentioned about becoming the mayor and, not having any buildings and not having any staff, we also didn't have any land. So we put together what's called a URA. It's a urban redevelopment authority, or urban redevelopment agency. And the goal for that is to help eliminate the blight in the city. Now, you live here, just like I do. You can drive through certain corridors and you see buildings that are boarded up. You see vacant buildings. You see properties that haven't been kept up the best. So we literally started a redevelopment agency focused clearly on eliminating blight in the city. So, that's another initiative. We just bought our first parcels of land back over the end of over the beginning of this year, towards the end of last year, to start to do some of that, right? To make sure you're eliminating blight. We're going to do more of that. So this whole economic development front is a huge initiative. We have a city hall to build, right? So that's going to be exciting. That's going to be an amazing thing to do. Can't say how far out on that we are right now, but that's going to be amazing, because it's not just going to be a city hall. It's going to be conference rooms, and it's going to be, hopefully we'll have a theater, that we're looking at. There's going to be shops, there's going to be restaurants, there's going to be, additional places for people to live. So a center city being built out, and, I can't say exactly what it's going to be quite yet. We know, there's places like the Avalon, there's places like Halcyon, even up in Forsyth County, Atlantic Station, true, you see what was done in Sandy Springs. I think they call it City Springs, I think is the name of them. And these are fantastic, dynamic areas that's been built out for the community. And so I really get excited when talking about that, because that is truly going to be transformative to the city. We truly can have a center city that we can say is ours, that we can go to. You already see bits and pieces of that. Again, with the amphitheater we have, there is a Mableton Town Square. If you guys don't know and haven't seen it, there is a town square where Mableton Elementary sits right across from it. We already doing events there. We're going to start back doing food truck Fridays. It's where we just bring food trucks around the square, and we have a DJ and bring some music out, and just allow people to come out and enjoy Friday. It's not packed with vendors and everything. It's just bring your blanket or your lawn chair. The strollers come out for the kids, and we just have a great Friday. Just unwind and get ready to kick off the weekend. So some of those initiatives are what are some of the things that we're going to do more for the community. And I'm just excited about all of those things.
That's amazing, and I thank you so much for your contributions to our wonderful city. I am really excited for what's to come for us.
Thank you.
Talking to you is one of my favorite parts of the week. I hope you got something out of this episode today. If you'd like to help more people find I Am Not Naming This Podcast by Shanice Jedinay, you can do so by subscribing and leaving a review. Also, feel free to share with a friend or family member.